This second and last piece is, I wrote, it happened a few weeks ago, and it's up on my blog, just chicagohack.com if you want to read. Not in the book, maybe in the sequel, if somebody wants to publish it. Let's see, it's called Homeland. Closing time at Damon and Division. A young Hispanic guy with a buzz cut runs toward my cab from the Rainbow Club's sidewalk, where a half-dozen exiled drinkers are pondering their next move. Most fares from the Rainbow at 2 a.m. end up at the Continental, Estelle's, or an apartment nearby. That's true. After asking me to roll down the passenger side window, the young man takes a deep breath and asks, "How much to take me to Aurora?" It's locals, you actually know where Aurora is. That's good. I look in the chauffeur's guide to give him an estimate. This book, which contains listings of routes, fares, restaurants, hotels, and other useful info for cab drivers, is published and sold by a chain-smoking Middle Eastern man whose name I've never caught. Many an afternoon he can be spotted with the latest guide in hand, Marlboro hanging off his lip, going up and down the rows of cabs queued out at O'Hare or Midway. The book estimates the trip from downtown to Aurora at $110. So I tell the guy it'll be right around 100. He stands there thinking it over, then says, "All right, let's do this." "You take credit, right?" I nod. He goes back to say goodbye to his friends, then gets in the cab. We start south on Damon toward the Eisenhower. I explain that it's straight meter to the city limits, meter and a half thereafter. He seems cool with that, asking again to make sure that I'll take plastic. He says, "I'm going to tell you right now, I've got a gun. I work for Homeland Security. How often do cab drivers get robbed? Does that happen?" "It happens," I answer, not knowing where he's going with this. "Don't worry, man. I already told you I'm packing." Hanging out with my cousin after work tonight, and we stayed out drinking too long. I was really considering crashing at his pad, but my wife had been texting all night. She wants me home. You know how it is. "You married?" "Divorced." "Oh, so you know." "If you love her, there's no reason to start trouble. You're doing the right thing going home," I said. "Yeah, I love her. I've got a government vehicle, but I usually take Metra in. I'm in no shape to be driving anywhere right now." He falls silent somewhere past the Harlem exit on the Eisenhower. As with most suburbs, I know how to get to them, but once out there, I'm lost. The book says to take the Farnsworth Road exit, so when I see it's a couple miles ahead, I glance back to rouse the kid, who's passed out, leaning forward with his forehead resting against the taxi TV screen on the back of the passenger seat. He looks around, disoriented, asking where we are, and tells me after squinting about a few more seconds that we should have taken Route 59 a mile or so back. Sorry. Seeing how he never gave me any directions aside from take me to Aurora, there's no way I could have known this. Still, I ask how far off course we are, and he says about 5 miles, I'm sorry. I tell him I'll take $10 off his fare. Off the highway now, we pass gas stations, fast food restaurants, shopping malls, and gated subdivisions, with names like Stonemoor, Wood Edge, and multiple ones ending with Haven, Brook, and Shore. They all run together, unless it's the one you live in, I suppose. My passenger goes in and out of consciousness throughout this stretch, so we end up making several more wrong turns before finally finding the subdivision he lives in. We settle on a total of $115, which takes into account both my missing his exit and his failure to stay awake. He hands over his card, and just as I'm about to swipe it, the system goes down. Don't worry, it ends up well. We're 35 miles outside the city, so this isn't entirely unexpected. I wait a bit, but there's nothing but not receiving data displaying on the terminal. So I take out a carbon slip from the glove compartment, lay it on top of the card, and rub my ballpoint pen over it to get an impression. It's faint and distorted, like music on a third-generation cassette. So I write out the numbers on the slip as well. I should really get a manual swiper, but $35 seems a steep price to spend for a situation that only occurs when I'm out in the boonies, and rarely even then. He doesn't really know what's taking so long, but is relieved when I hand him back his card. He shakes my hand and stumbles toward a darkened little house. As soon as I turn around to head back toward the highway, the Gandalf springs back to life, and I input the credit card data without any problem. I find my way back to the toll road fairly quickly. When heading back to Chicago, my sense of direction rarely fails the way it does on the way out to the hinterlands. I've lived here long enough now that I know which way home is, and it's almost always a relief to return. Thank you.